Gently close your eyes. Do deep breathing. We'll chant Om once together. Synchronize the chanting of Om with your exhalation. Breathe in. Om Sahana Vavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavaditamastu Mavit Vishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Gently open your eyes. We'll chant from verses 16 to 20 of chapter 3. Evam pravartitam chakram.
Evam pravartitam chakram.
Nanuvartayati hayah.
Nanuvartayati hayah.
Aghayurindriya ramah.
Aghayurindriya ramah.
Mogham partha sajivati.
Mogham partha sajivati.
Yastvatmarati reva syad.
Yastvatmarati reva syad.
Atma-triptascha manavah.
Atma-triptascha manavah.
Atmanyeva cha santushtah.
Atmanyeva cha santushtah.
Tasya karyam na vidyate.
Tasya karyam na vidyate.
Naiva tasya krite narthah.
Naiva tasya krite narthah.
Na krite neha kaschana.
Na krite neha kaschana.
Na chasya sarva bhuteshu.
Na chasya sarva bhuteshu.
Kaschidarthavyapashrayah.
Kaschidarthavyapashrayah.
Tasmadasaktah satatam.
Tasmadasaktah satatam.
Karyam karma samachara.
कार्यं कर्म समाचर
असक्तो ह्याचरन् कर्म
असक्तो ह्याचरन् कर्म
परमाप्नोति पूरुषः
परमाप्नोति पूरुषः
कर्मणैव हि संसिद्धिम्
कर्मणैव हि संसिद्धिम्
आस्थिता जनकादयः
आस्थिता जनकादयः
लोकसङ्ग्रहमेवापि
लोकसङ्ग्रहमेवापि
सम्पश्यन् कर्तुमर्हसि
सम्पश्यन् कर्तुमर्हसि
Hari Om, and a very good day to all of you. So in the last session, we were exploring into this principle of Atma-rati, which means one who is delighting in the self. Yaha Atma-ratihi eva. Eva means alone. So one who is constantly delighting in the self alone. Now, as I told you, the word ratihi is generally used to describe the inner state of a yogi when he is contacting the world. Now, he is starting off with that. See, all the three words, ratihi, then triptaha, and then santushtaha, all of them are describing the inner state of a yogi. But the context varies. So he is straightaway saying Atma-ratihi. That is, what is the inner state of a yogi when he is in touch with the world? Why is he starting off with that? See, even though he is describing the inner state of a yogi, now you are seeing the externality. See, he is talking from your point of view. If a master starts talking from his point of view, nobody can understand what he is saying, because that is totally from another dimension. It's like you are in a room where there are a lot of objects. Let's say there are some plastic trees, small trees, and some toys, this, that, and all. Now, you have never been outside that room. A person who has gone out of that room again comes back into the room. Now, if he starts talking what all he saw there, I saw the sky, I saw the sun, I saw the plants growing, this, that, and all. Now, nobody in the room, none of the people who are in the room will be able to understand that, because they have no reference point at all. Throughout your life, you have lived in that room only. Suddenly, a person who has gone out is coming in, talking about what is there outside this room. First of all, there will necessarily be a communication gap, because there is no reference point. So if he talks about sky, now maximum what you will be able to conceive is the ceiling of that room. So you will ask him, is it better than this ceiling? Now he'll tell you there is no comparison at all. Then if he talks about trees, you will now show the plastic tree and ask him, is it something like this? He'll tell you, no, the real tree is something totally different. Then supposing he's talking about some birds which are flying, butterflies which are flying. You take a toy butterfly and show him and say, is it like this? He says, there's some similarity externally, but it's totally different. There is life. So he finds it extremely difficult to communicate. Actually, it's not extremely difficult. It's not possible to communicate. So if you really want to know what that infinite state is, the master will just keep quiet, because that is his experience. And that experience cannot be communicated here because there are so many limitations. Just as the person who has gone outside the room cannot communicate what he has experienced. There are no reference points, there are no tools with which he can communicate that experience here. The only way to know the infinite fully is to experience it. Then you may ask me, why are these masters trying to communicate something which is anyway not possible to communicate? The idea is to inspire you so that you get that desire, that mumukshatva as they call it in Sanskritam language. Mumukshatva means the desire to liberate oneself, the desire to go beyond whatever you're experiencing. So unless you get that mumukshatva, unless you're inspired, you will never put in that effort to try and get out of that room, those limitations. You will just be in a state of tamas where you are so preoccupied with the various things in the room that you don't have time to explore what is beyond it. And what is beyond it is a huge world. You're confined to those four walls and you think that is the world. But a person who has gone out, he says there is a huge world, the universe is there. So since that experience is non-communicable, what the master does is that he picks up certain references from your level of limitations. And then with reference to those things, he communicates what the infinite is. It can never be the ultimate. As I told you, the ultimate is no words, 100% silence. Silence means not merely verbally, mentally also, but with full awareness. The entire Vedas, the Upanishads, the Bhagavad Gita, they are all utterances of these great masters who have experienced the infinite, and they are communicating it with reference to our level. This is so important to keep in mind, because otherwise there are some sadhaks, when they attend these kinds of things, then they say, oh, now I know who is a sthita prajna. You can never know who is a Sthita Prajna unless you become one. Oh, I know who is God. There are some people who say that. Whatever you conceive of God, whatever you believe, everything is limited. We can say a limited version. It is all limited to your conditioning. It can never be the ultimate truth. And that is why the great Tamil Siddha, he said, Kandavar Vindilar, Vindavar Kandilar. One who has seen, Kandavar means one who has seen, Vindilar, he does not speak. He does not speak means he cannot speak of that. Whatever he is speaking cannot truly depict that. Kandavar Vindilar. Vindavar Kandilar. People who just speak and claim that this is the highest, those people have not really seen. It's not that a master will never speak. That way Lord Krishna himself is speaking only. The Upanishads, the masters have spoken. Not that they never speak. But there are people who speak thinking that they know everything and this is what is the truth is and all that. That, he says, such a person has never seen. Kandavar Vindilar, Vindavar Kandilar. It's a brilliant way of putting it, These great Siddhas, these great yogis, they always spoke in such a way that it creates a tremendous impact, provided you tune into that frequency. If you don't tune into that frequency, you will say, what Kandavar, what is all this? It will make no sense, So here he is explaining the person who has merged with the infinite, who has used the Yajna Chakra, the Sadhana Chakra, to break all the other karmic chakras, the karmic cycles, and who has merged with the infinite. What about him? What about her? That is what is being described here. But what is that person's state with reference to your level? That has been maintained. So what is the first thing that you notice in anyone? You only notice that person's behavior. Can you notice a person's mind straight away? You don't have that capacity. So the first thing you will notice about a person is how is that person behaving, how is that person dressing, how is that person talking, how is that person walking. That's why in the second chapter, if you remember, Arjuna asked the question about Sthita Prajna. Sthita Prajnasya ka bhasha. How does a Sthita Prajna speak? How does he walk? How does he sit? This is how he asks that question. It's very, very symbolic when he asks about the external behavior. Because that is the way you approach life. With these two eyes, with your 5 sense organs of perception, you can perceive the world, the external aspects of the world. So when you look at a person, you're seeing with eyes, you're hearing with your ears, whatever he speaks. So you naturally you will make an assessment based on that. But the problem is, a yogi, or we can say the state of yoga, has nothing to do with external actions. It is an internal state. There itself there is a contradiction. What you can perceive is the externality, but what he is giving you is the innermost state. So he brings it down a bit and says, okay, When he is walking, when he is talking, when he is contacting the world, what is his inner state? Then at least from whatever you know, you can project a little bit and start getting into the frequency, the higher frequency. Because if you are caught up with this frequency, it is impossible to understand the grand state of a yogi. You will only come to all erroneous conclusions, I would say very foolish conclusions, that yogi means he has to dress like this, he has to behave like this. Some people have very funny idea. Yogi means he will only eat once a day, or he will eat only this much. There are many yogis who have eaten more than once a day. There are many yogis who have fasted also. So these things have nothing to do with the inner state. Yogi means he should not deal with money. Some people think very foolishly like that. In the good old days, great yogis were Raja Rishis. Raja means kings, royal, belonging to royalty. They were all great rishis. So every parameter which you keep in order to understand a yogi is external. Even when we talk of happiness, the yogi is constantly happy, means you will only think he'll always be smiling. So there are some people who go about artificially smiling. They do like this, Why? Because I'm practicing yoga, they say. Again, the smile, the cheer, the happiness is coming from inside. So most people, they think just because they emulate a yogi, they copy a yogi. What can you copy? It's only the external actions, external dress. These things only you can copy. And they believe that I've also become a yogi. So when he is talking about that state, he uses three words: Atma-rati, Atma-truptaha, Atmanyeva santushtaha. He is not talking about externalities at all, which means a yogi may be living alone or he may be in company. A yogi may be wearing a red colored dress or white colored dress or yellow colored dress or blue or any color. A yogi may be an Indian, an American, Russian, anything, any nationality. There is no external reference. You should first understand that. Then only you can step into the basics of the spiritual path. As long as you're thinking that spirituality is to do with externalities, you have not gotten into even the pre-KG of spirituality, I would say. Throughout the scriptures, they talk about that inner state, and people have misunderstood all that as external behavior. Externally, a yogi will behave according to the situation. Supposing, let's say, a yogi goes to a death house, Atma-rati, will he keep smiling? Then he's no longer. According to the situation, he will act. What will give solace to that person there? If you go to a yogi for any problem, if you go to a master and say, "Sir, I have a financial problem," he laughs. Why? Yes, he is an Atma-rati. It's not like that. According to the situation, his behavior will change, his attire will change, everything may change, but his inner state will remain the same. And what is that inner state? Defined by these three terms: Atma-ratihi atma-triptaha atmani santushtaha. In order to simplify this only, I gave you those three parameters, the three parameters of happiness, independence and freedom. That is never going to change. So Atma-ratihi, he starts off with Atma-ratihi because we use the word ratihi with reference to the world, that is with reference to the worldly objects. When a person is contacting the world, what is his inner state? A normal person will fluctuate, that is his inner state, his mind will fluctuate according to the external fluctuations of the world. Whereas for a yogi, his mind is always in a state of Atma-ratihi. Ratihi means delighting. Atma means that supreme self. So his mind is always turned inward and completely merged with that supreme self. So when you understand the context, it becomes even more penetrative, we can say. So you are seeing the external behavior, so he starts off from there. Don't the incidental message which you get from here is never judge a spiritually advanced person, never judge a master based on his external behavior. Whatever be the behavior outside, whatever be the external lifestyle, one master may be living in opulence, he may be very wealthy, another master may be living a mediocre financial life. All these things do not matter. The inner state is that of Atma-ratihi. You may have a value for wealth. You may have, that is when I say value, extra value. So one master may be a little famous, another master may not be famous, but internally both of them are same, assuming that both are masters who have experienced the infinite. So even before going into the depth of this, the first thing which you understand is that never judge a person's spiritual status or there is actually true spirituality has no status, because status is something which externally the world gives you, but true spirituality has should not be judged based on externalities. This is a very important message which you can derive as a sadhak. So when you do your sadhana and when you as you develop spiritually, you will start becoming so blissful inside. And how does that manifest? As Atma-ratihi. So the word ratihi is a very interesting word. Ratihi means pleasure. Ratihi means delight. Something which delights you, something which gives you pleasure, that feeling which you get within you when you contact the sense objects. Generally, it is used in for the physical enjoyments. But remember, even in the physical enjoyment, the enjoyment is experienced by the mind only. That is represented by ratihi. Pleasure, delight. What is interesting is ratihi also means fondness. It means attachment. When something gives you pleasure, then you become very fond of it. And once that fondness keeps on increasing, after a while you get attached to it. That entire process is called ratihi. See, when is it that you get attached to something? What is the starting point? That object first gave you some pleasure. You have to see the sequence, how the whole thing happens. When you first contacted that object, it gave you some pleasure. It gave you some delight. Then based on that, you developed a fondness. You start liking it. So you then pick it up again. You want that experience again and again. What is driving you to go back to it again and again? It's a fondness which pushes you. And that fondness has developed because of that initial pleasure or delight. And then when you keep on contacting it, slowly, the fondness becomes attachment. So when you become attached, when you get into that state of attachment, what happens is you will start depending on that object for your happiness. Without that object, you cannot be happy. You lose that capacity to be happy. You become dependent. So independence also goes away. And when independence also goes away, freedom also goes away. I am first giving you the direct meaning of ratihi. Here he is not merely saying ratihi, he says Atma-rati. That's where the whole principle lies. But first you have to understand what ratihi is. And this is not something which we are talking about externally. This is happening in your mind, internally, all the time. How is it that you are becoming dependent on the world for your happiness? It is through the process of ratihi. Pleasure or delight to start with, which develops fondness within you, and then that fondness slowly becomes attachment. And once you become attached, thereafter, attachment becomes a source of stress. You are no longer happy. It becomes a source of stress. When the object is not there, you will feel sorrowful. When the object is there, you will feel fearful of losing it. It may be an object or it may be a person also. Anything in the world. You may get attached to a person. The same process only. Actually, if you understand ratihi in depth, you can understand what's happening within you. You can genuinely understand the psychology, the inner psychology. You can understand your own mind better. And so you become stressed instead of being happy. You become dependent instead of being independent. And you become a slave instead of experiencing freedom. I told you happiness, independence, freedom. Ratihi is the exact opposite of that. So then what do we do about ratihi? An untrained mind naturally gets into a state of ratihi whenever it experiences anything in the world. So what are you going to do about it? He says, there is one way. Atma-rati. Today, ratihi is directed outward. Instead, you direct it inward, he says, towards your higher self. What is interesting is the moment you do that, you get back your happiness, you get back your independence, and you get back your freedom. Even as a yogi is contacting the sense objects, he never loses himself. When you contact the sense objects, you lose yourself. But that never happens to a master. A true master uses the sense objects, never gets lost in that. Whereas, instead of using the sense objects, what happens is you get lost, you lose yourself there. So, mere ratihi will give rise to stress, dependence and bondage, slavishness. Atma-rati will give rise to happiness, independence and freedom. It will liberate you completely. So what is the sadhana message which we get from this sequence? Whatever has been explained to you right now about ratihi. The sadhana message is that contact the world. There is nothing wrong with that. But whenever you get to a point where you are completely getting lost in that, then you withdraw a little bit. You withdraw and get yourself established in the center again. The scriptures are not against enjoyment. The great yogis and siddhas, they were not against enjoyment. They only said, don't get into that enjoyment and lose yourself in that. So up to that point, it's okay. But the moment you find that you are losing yourself completely, how do you know? Sir, how do I know whether I am losing myself or not? These three factors. Happiness, independence, freedom. Are you losing your happiness? Are you getting stressed, worked up about it? Are you losing your independence? Are you losing your freedom? You should find out. That is the sadhana which you need to do. The moment you start losing these three, it means that line has been crossed internally again. This has nothing to do with the quantity of contact. A siddha, a holy siddha may be in continuous sensual enjoyment also, but he will always remain in the center. That is why he is a siddha. If he moves away from the center, then he is no longer a siddha, he is no longer a yogi. So, Atma-rati means being centered in your higher self as you are going through the various pleasures in the world, the various experiences in the world. That is the spiritual state. When you do your sadhana, you will slowly get into that state. You cannot fake it. As soon as you hear it, some people what they do is they use this philosophy to justify their weaknesses. One person I knew, he was an alcoholic, completely addicted to alcohol. And always he was quoting these kinds of Atma-rati. Yeah, I am in alcohol, but I am beyond it. You know? All this philosophy he used to talk. Ultimately, you may say so many things, you may fool others, but you can't fool yourself. You can't fool yourself, you can't fool your guru also, because he can see through you much with better clarity than how you're seeing yourself. So when you're applying this in life, when you're doing the sadhana, you be very honest, very sincere. See things as they are and start improving that. So, Atma-rati. Ratihi means the three things which I told you: the pleasure, the delight which you first get, developing fondness within you, and then that becomes attachment. Atma means the higher self. Now become centered in the self. Your daily sadhana will help you to become centered. A person who does the yoga sankirtan sadhana on a daily basis will start becoming fully centered in the higher self. That is the protection. Actually, the world tempts you only when you are weak. Yes, that's how you start off with. But a yogi reaches a state where he is beyond temptations. Why? Because he is in a state of Atma-rati. Now, what is interesting is the word ratihi actually means the physical enjoyment, the sexual act and pleasure. That is another dimension of ratihi. So, why have they taken the physical enjoyment? Because that represents the highest pleasure among sense objects. So they have taken that extreme. Even that enjoyment, that pleasure will not move a yogi, a master from the center. See, you have to understand it in depth. There are various grades of sensual pleasures. Now they are taking the highest grade, which is a physical union. Now they say even that will not move a person who is established in yajna. That inner state will not get disturbed even a little bit. He will always be centered. So they have heightened the pleasure to its maximum. We're talking of the worldly pleasure to the maximum level, and they are saying even a true yogi, even when he is contacting and experiencing the highest pleasure which the senses can give, he is unmoved. He is always centered in Atma, in Brahma, in that supreme self. What a glorious state! Atma-rati. If you think about it, this is the best word which can be used to describe the state of a yogi when he is contacting the world. Any other word you use, it doesn't come close to what this word Atma-ratihi explains. It gives you a tremendous insight into the world, the inner state of a yogi. So, in general, ratihi means the pleasures of the world, the pleasures which you get from the world, all worldly experiences. Now you can project it further. The physical pleasure is taken as a symbol of all pleasures. So then you have emotional pleasures, you have intellectual pleasures. Supposing there is a problem and you solve it, that gives you a lot of pleasure. That is an intellectual pleasure. when you have have an emotional relationship with someone, that gives you emotional pleasure. So different kinds of pleasures are there in the world. When a yogi is experiencing all those, he remains centered in the higher self. So as this is being explained to you, you should personalize it. We are not talking about some yogi. I told you that is the future you. Generally we say be in the present only, but here alone we have to say future you, because otherwise there are some people who start hallucinating and they get an ego boost. Oh, I have become a yogi and all that. That's why I said future you. So we are not talking about some external yogi. You may take that as a reference, but ultimately it is you who is going to travel in this path. So all these things will happen to you, not from 0 to 100 straight away, but in phases, in stages. So this is one aspect of Atma-rati, the different dimensions of rati I have given. Now we'll go into a little more depth. Rati means pleasure, delight, fondness, attachment, the sexual pleasure, the act and the pleasure, everything. But there is one more dimension of rati which is generally not known to people, even to those people who study the scriptures very seriously. That is, rati means rest. That is the most interesting part. On one hand, rati means pleasure. On the other hand, rati means resting. Actually, the word rati is derived from the root ram. What does ram mean? When you go into the depth of it, you get the deep insight about what rati actually means. Actually, it becomes a sadhana. That's what is interesting. So I gave you the different meanings like pleasure, delight and all that. But what is interesting is, when you go to the root, it's called dhatu. Dhatu means root. The root of rati is ram. Pleasure or delight is a secondary meaning of rati. It's not the primary meaning. It is in usage that rati, which is derived from ram, has been used for to represent pleasure primarily. But if you go to the root of it, ram does not actually mean pleasure or delight straight away. That is only a secondary meaning. The primary meaning of ram is to rest. Ram means to pause. Ram means to stop. It means to stay. It means to be in rest. That is the first meaning. Then only comes pleasure and delight. So that's why he has used the word rati here. So primarily, these are the four things which you should practice. Whenever you are acting in the world, you should pause. You should not be impulsive. You should stop. Stop doesn't mean hesitating. It means assessing the situation properly. It means to stay. It means you have to stay in that state of awareness, not lose yourself, and be in a state of rest all the time, not in a state of stress. When you practice these four, and then you go to the secondary meaning, which is when you contact the world and derive the pleasure and delight, you will never become a slave. When you move out of this primary meaning of ratihi, which is rest. Rest means these four: pausing, stopping, staying and resting. When you move out of that state and get into the pleasure aspect alone, that is when the pleasure will become fondness, it will become attachment and you will become bound. So even without the word Atma, the very word Ratihi itself is a complete word. It has a message for all the sadhaks. It actually gives you the sadhana which you need to practice. So the first thing which you need to practice is the primary meaning of Ratihi, which is what we call as self-control. Self-control is not self-denial. Self-control means not losing yourself in the various external pleasures, experiencing them but being disciplined. How do you define discipline? Four parameters you have: pause, stop, stay and rest. Pausing means not jumping into anything with excitement. If you jump with excitement, then you will get lost. Stopping means whenever you find danger, whenever you find that you're slipping, just stop a bit. Stay in the state of awareness. Get into a state of rest. This is a very practical tip which he is giving you just by using the word Ratihi. So in common parlance, Ratihi means moving from pleasure to attachment. But why is all that happening? The secret is in that word itself, because you're moving away from the state of rest. So when you talk of pausing, stopping, staying, rest, we'll summarize that those four things in that one word, rest. Which is the best place to rest? Your own Atman, higher self. Therefore he says Atma-rati. Whenever you are centered in the higher self, you will always be in the state of rest. You will never be impulsive. There is no danger for you. You will always stay in that state of awareness. You will never lose your awareness. In that state of rest, when you contact the world, when you experience the pleasures and delights of the world, that will never develop into attachment, bondage and slavery. This is how a yogi is free even when he is living in the world. Most people think world means bondage. World doesn't mean bondage. Bondage is your mind only, not the world. The sense objects are not an issue. It is your mind which is an issue. Once you gain mastery over your mind, the same sense object may be there, but you will never get lost. You will use it, but you will not get lost. The cell phone is not an issue. Your addiction to the cell phone is an issue. The world is not an issue at all. It is your mind which gets attached, which is the real issue. And that is why all the yogis said, let the world remain as it is. You take care of your mind. You gain mastery over your mind. So the first step is discipline. Bring about a discipline in your life. If you want to get into that state of Atma-rati, the first thing is discipline, which is what is symbolized by pausing and stopping. Ratihi means pausing, Ratihi means stopping. Stopping means not going beyond that line. Have a schedule in life to follow from morning till evening. Let not the mind just wander aimlessly. I'll get up at this time, I'll do this at this time, I'll do sadhana at this time. Again, no need to become like a military kind of a thing, 1 second, you're getting so dizzy. It's not like that. But basically follow a discipline. It's good. It helps you to control your mind. It's a sadhana. And then staying in that state of awareness. Whenever you find that you move away from awareness, as you do sadhana and become a good sadhak, you will become alert. You will again bring back your inner state and get established in that alertness. So when you practice all this, you will be in a state of rest, even when you are contacting the world. And when you are in a state of rest, you can move to the further higher state, which is being centered in Atman, the higher self. So self-disciplining, disciplining the mind, that is self-discipline, and then that which leads to self-control, and then from there that will lead to self-mastery. It's a beautiful path. Just by this one word, Ratihi, he has actually given you the path, how you can gain mastery over your mind. And then by adding it with Atma-rati, how you can merge the mind with the infinite. The complete philosophy has been given just by these two words, Atma-rati. But anyway, most of you will miss it. Therefore, he gives the next thing, Atma-triptaha. There also we'll see, it's very interesting. Sir, I have missed that also, don't worry. Atmani santushtaha. Sir, everything I'm missing. No problem, next verse. Till this truth is hammered into your system, we are not going to leave it. Assuming you're going to watch every Sunday sincerely. And from different ways, the same truth will be hammered into your system. So, Atma-ratihi, the primary meaning of the root of ratihi, ram, gives you that clue, the primary and the secondary meaning. Today, unfortunately, the moment the word ratihi is used, people merely think about the sexual pleasure. They think it is external pleasure alone. No, it is that deep, deep state of self-mastery when you are experiencing pleasure. That is why in the Puranas, Rati has been portrayed as a goddess, as a Shakti, Rati. She is a wife of Kama Deva. She was the most beautiful lady in the entire, all the three worlds, this entire universe. So they are partners. That itself is symbolic. Kama represents desire. Again, we'll go into the, if I go into the depth of it, the entire Puranas, actually give you the very philosophy of life and how you can perfect yourself. So, Kama actually represents uncontrolled desire, and Rati represents the pleasures and delights which you get from fulfilling, from fulfillment of Kama. So, Ratihi, that's why they both are partners. Means you get into the state of Kama only to get pleasure. They have to live together. It's so beautifully depicted in our Puranas. So generally, if you take away Kama, there is no Rati. She cannot exist. But here he is saying Atma-rati. So when that Rati is focused on Kama, that is a lower state, which is what we saw: pleasure, delight, fondness, attachment. When the same Rati is directed to the higher self, now the most interesting part is that Rati becomes Atma-rati and Kama is transformed into Ichha Shakti. Kama Shakti is uncontrolled desire. Ichha Shakti is desire by will. You have complete control over your desires. And in our scriptures, all the yogis, they say you should use your Ichha Shakti to materialize things, whatever it is that you want. The problem is, in the English translation, Kama also means desire, Ichha also means desire. So when they said, desires are dangerous, they meant Kama. But in the English translation, everything is desire. So people have got confused and they think, oh, if we get into the path of yoga now, I'll not get any enjoyment and all that. I have to leave all the desires. No. Leave the Kama, convert it into Ichha. And that's what we saw several verses back, where he used the word Ishta Kama Dukh. Ishta Kama means Ichha. Let the Yajna be the fulfiller of all your desires. What desires? Not mere Kama, Ishta Kama. Ishta Kama means Ichha. So our our Puranas are full of these messages only. We are directly seeing those messages. There they have put it in a story form, in the form of various incidents. So where is Kama Shakti? Within you only. Where is Ratihi? Within you. That tendency for pleasure is called Ratihi. And they both always are united. Now he is saying, you unite. Let the Ratihi start looking inward towards the Atman. The Kama will get transformed into Ichha. I am completing the picture for you and using the Puranas. Because many people keep asking me, sir, can you take the Puranas and tell us the significance? That will become very exhaustive and voluminous. Since the time is limited, we are directly getting into the principles, especially the sadhana principle. So here and there, I'll keep alluding to the Puranic incidents so that you understand the deeper imports. See, when you use the yogic approach and understand all these principles, actually you are well equipped to understand all the scriptures, all the Puranas. That is the beauty. So Ratihi, who is the wife of Kama, now is transformed into Atma-rati. She is still the wife of Kama only, but there is an inward touch. She has become more centered, and the moment she becomes more centered, now Kama cannot remain Kama. That gets converted into Ichha Shakti. So the mind constantly wants pleasure from outside. And there is no end to this. Any amount of pleasure you get, you will want more only. Realizing that and becoming centered within, in the higher self, now that immediately brings about a tremendous mastery over your own desires. When your desire is out of your control, it is called kama. When your desire is well controlled, it is out of choice. That is called ichha. And converting kama into ichha, that is the first step towards yogic materialization. See, even in the Maha Ganapati Dhyana, Ganapati represents the energy of success. You read that booklet, the 5 Shaktis have been used. 5 Shaktis are awakened within in that sequence. One of the Shaktis is Ichha Shakti. Without Ichha Shakti, you cannot manifest anything. So the same mind which is causing so much of turbulence, which is causing so much of problem in a person, becomes an effective tool for materialization, for doing good to the world, which is what is called as karma yoga. Karma yoga means doing good to the world. Using what? Your own mind only, but a refined mind. When it is unrefined, it is called kama. When it is refined, it is called ichha. And where is the secret? The secret is with rati. If you want to transform your kama into ichha, the secret lies in rati. Because it is the tendency for pleasure which keeps pulling your mind. Now, if you gain mastery over that, then your mind will not go on its own. Whenever you want it to go, it will go. Whenever you want it to come back, it will come back. So how do you gain mastery over this tendency for pleasure? By turning it inward. That process is what I was explaining to you in by going to the root of the word ratihi, ram. The ultimate rest is in the higher self. All that was explained to you. No? So that is the method. So without understanding all this, people just, some people who read the Purana, Kamadeva, Rati Devi, they keep talking about all these incidents. So, okay, so what is the relevance of all that in your life? You need to start thinking about that. Okay, so this is the deeper deeper meaning of Atma-rati using the yogic approach. We are going into the energy of that, and those messages are being given to you. That is the work of a real master, to get to the essence, to get to the energy of the scriptures, not merely giving you an intellectual knowledge that can make you knowledgeable, but that's not going to transform you. Okay, so we'll stop with that here. A lot of deep principles have been given, practical principles. I want you to reflect on those principles and come back next week, because from Ratihi, the next thing he uses is Triptaha, the Shakti behind Triptaha. Triptaha is adjectival form. So the Shakti behind Triptaha is called Tripti. Similarly, the Shakti behind Santushtaha is Tushti. So we will be seeing that also. Very interesting how at different levels he uses different words and gives you, that is, he gives you the higher truths in the best possible way, where you can't miss it, yet people miss it. That is the genius of of everyone, We'll see all that as we uh, go along. In the next session, we will go into further depth of this verse. It's a gradual sequence. And when you see the whole sequence, it's an amazing path which he gives. The inner path of conquering your own mind. Okay, so before we have the Nididhyasana meditation, I will take up one question. This question has been posted in the YouTube comment section. Dear Yogishri, I have a follow-up question related to deep breathing clarification today. Yes, this was asked, I think, 2-3 weeks back, where I had taken up that question on with respect to the 4-step breathing. So first of all, I am so thankful to that sadhak who asked that question related to breathing pattern during Yoga Sankirtan sadhana. See, this is very interesting. If you have a question, do ask, because it helps others also. This is a practical proof. So when Prana Tattva level 1 was done, it was mentioned that now deep breathing means there is a meaning and practice, a meaning of deep breathing and practice for us should be 4-step breathing as the training and empowerment is given. So today I always assume deep breathing means 4 steps and follow the same during Yoga Sankirtan or any other context. Now, based on today's clarification, next question is, what is deep breathing then? Does it mean just observing breath going in and out from nostril and trying to slow down or elongate inhaling and exhaling? Should the focus be on the air going in and out of the nostril? Thank you, sir, for clarifying this. Now, I'll explain it more clearly. There's a lot of confusion. See, deep breathing can be used in a general way. I'm talking of the phrase deep breathing. We can use it in a general way. We can use it in a particular context. Now, you will have to understand the context. See, that's why I keep saying don't get caught up with the words. Understand the context. For example, we say be spiritual. When you are handling finance, being spiritual means properly dealing with money. When you are handling a relationship, when you are relating to someone, being spiritual means being fully in that relationship and practicing the higher principles. According to the context, what is spirituality will change. The application will change. Similarly, in general terms, we say breathe deeply, deep breathing. But according to the context, now it will keep changing. So in the Prana Tattva level 1, when that empowerment was given to you, it's available online for you to do it any number of times. You see, it was said, yes, from now on, deep breathing means the 4-step breathing, because for the first time, the 4-step breathing was introduced. Even many yoga experts, that is, I'm talking of the Hatha Yoga experts who had who took that empowerment, told me that in our entire life of studying the Hatha Yoga, doing those pranayama, we had never heard of this 4-step breathing. The first time we are coming across this 4-step breathing. Yes, that is this very special type of deep breathing. See, deep breathing is of different types. The 4-step breathing is a very special type of deep breathing meant to awaken the prana shakti within you. So when that was taught, I said from now, in general parlance, from now on, deep breathing means the 4-step breathing. But that context has already been defined, no, in the prana tattva level 1. Otherwise, every time in that course, whenever I say deep breathing, I have to say do the 4-step deep breathing, 4-step deep breathing. It's not required. So that's why I said from now on, whenever I say deep breathing here, it means 4-step breathing. To make it easy for you to understand and do the sadhana, for me also to give instructions will become easy. But interestingly, how did we do the practice of 4-step breathing? First, 1-step breathing was given, then 2-step, then 3 steps, and then only the 4 steps. Even in the sadhana meditation material which was given to you, that is after prana tattva level 1, which you are practicing, that meditation where the 4-step breathing is mastered, we start with 1 step, 2 step, 3 step, and then only go to 4 step. So then, is it that 3 step is not deep breathing? That is also deep breathing only. Even 1 step is also deep breathing only. But the depth keeps increasing. And then more elements were added. What should be the ratio of inhalation and exhalation in that prana tattva level 1 empowerment? Now, if you take that separately, that is another specialization. So you will have to see the context. So when it comes to Yoga Sankirtan Sadhana, generally it is said do deep breathing. Now you should first understand what is the context. Yoga Sankirtan Sadhana is a highest meditation process which is being given to you. What is the focus there? The focus there is not on breathing. It is on, the focus is on releasing the karmas. So all that was suggested during the Yoga Sankirtan was focus on your deep breathing. Doesn't mean now you have to look at the nostril. All that if you're going to do, then you will come out of the state of meditation. All that I'll teach you when we have these the yoga classes. That is, yoga means, I mean the physical aspects, no? The prana kriyas, the pranayama. We will be having those courses also soon. We are seeing how to structure it online so that everybody benefits. We will have to see whether it can be a full online or a hybrid program and all that. Because since numbers have increased and people from different parts of the world have become sadhaks now, we will have to think of everybody. But when that comes, I'll tell you. But have I ever mentioned look at your nostril, look at the air coming in, go? Have I ever mentioned all that? I don't know from where you're getting. That is why, see, you stick to one approach. If you're coming here, stick to this. There's enough information also which is being given, enough knowledge is given. If you just see the knowledge aspects, the points, so many points are being given for the rest of your life, you can sit with them. But if you're going to pick up something which is told, if you just do an internet search, you can get some technique, or some person said this, some person said that. You're not saying that, but obviously you have got it from somewhere. If you're not, also no issue, but there are others who may read, suddenly they may read a book on pranayama, which will say something. Sir, how is that applicable? It's difficult to answer those questions. Stick to one thing properly. So it was never mentioned to you, look at your nostrils, observe your breath going in and out and all that. That is done for a different purpose, totally. We are dealing with further higher stuff. You want to go to the pre-KG, actually that is not required at all in the higher sadhana of Yoga Sankirtan. So here the context is We are using the breath basically to keep your awareness and detachment going as the release is happening. So your focus should not be only on the breath. It was said focus on your breath so that your mind doesn't go here and there. But the focus should be on receiving the higher energy. And when the higher energy is, let us say, releasing some emotion, let's say you're getting angry, some incident, past incident is getting released. At that time, if you focus on the nostril breath and all that, where will you release? Or if you try and do forced breathing, how will you release? Initially, probably yes, just to relax, you do that 4 step. I'm not explaining that because that is, you have to get the empowerment for that. Otherwise, see, even the 4 step breathing, when done without getting the empowerment, is very dangerous because it can awaken certain energies which you will not be able to handle. That's why those things are given with empowerment. It's so important. So, if you initially to relax yourself, yes. Even the utility of 4 step breathing was given to awaken your pranas whenever you're stressed. You can simply just lie down and practice that 4 step breathing, or even sit and do. It will calm your mind, it will fill your body with so much of energy at the intracellular level. Many utilities were given. All there practice that. But when it comes to Yoga Sankirtan Sadhana, you have to go with the flow of energy. That is the main practice which was given. Always it has been told, no, go with the flow, go with the flow of the energy. So if the energy wants you to breathe fast, you need to breathe fast. That time you cannot breathe in a deep way. Fast means, supposing some emotion is coming and that is getting released. How will you release that if you slow breathing if you do? Along with the emotion, you may have to do some fast breathing. That is also a part of, incidentally, even pranayama. There are certain types of pranayamas which are very fast breathing. Like you have Bastrika pranayama, very fast breathing. So, according to the context, the that particular technique is given. So, there is nothing to get confused about. Whenever, did I say do 4 step breathing when I was giving the Yoga Sankirtan empowerment? If I say that, there I'll specify where to do it. But until now I have not said that, no. So, just practice whatever has been given. Is this clear? So, for the sadhak who has asked this question, and also to all others, I am making it very clear. See the context. Always understand everything in depth using the context. So, in Yoga Sankirtan, it has always been said, go with the energy flow. That is the sadhana there. The breath and all is a tool which is used for releasing. Merely breathing deeply will not release the subtler karmas. It is the higher energy which can release the subtler karmas. So we are using the deep breathing as a tool, as a support to facilitate that release, to make the release happen faster, in a smoother way. Okay? If you have further questions also, get back. I'll definitely clarify all the doubts. So now we'll have Nididhyasana meditation. Gently close your eyes. Do deep breathing. With every breath, I'm feeling more and more relaxed. Feel the divine vibrations. With every breath, I'm going deeper and deeper into myself. Beyond my physical body, beyond my pranas, beyond my emotions, beyond my thoughts, deep, deep within me lies my higher self, Atma. I am Atma, Brahma. This Atma is that supreme reality, Brahma. Whenever I contact the world, I am always in the state of Atma-rati, delighting in the higher self. I am Swayam Prakashit, self-illuminating. Offer your gratitude to God Supreme. Offer your gratitude to your Guru and all the holy masters. Wriggle your fingers, your toes, open and close your palms a few times. Rub your palms together to create a warmth. And cup your eyes with your palms. Gently rub your eyes, your cheeks, forehead, the top of your head, the back of your head, your neck, and slowly open your eyes. Welcome back. The Nididhyasana meditations are very intense. Time may be less, around 10 minutes or so, but the intensity is very high. So even within that 10 minutes, you will be transported to a different frequency altogether. So reflect on the principles which were given today. Start practicing them in your life. See, as you reflect, note down your points, you present them, that opportunity has been given to you in the YouTube, that comment section. That has generally been kept to write comments, but we are not using it for that purpose. We are using it for you to put down what points you grasped. See, that will build a lot of clarity. It's not so easy to write or to put down on points. You can talk general philosophy, but specific points for you to write, that requires a lot of clarity. If you're finding that difficult, if you feel I'm understanding well, but I'm finding difficult in putting down points, it means you're lacking clarity. You'll have to work on that. That is a beautiful sadhana. And as you know, I personally look at all the points whenever I get time, and also keep sending a specific healing which is required for the sadhaks, to make use of that. So next week we will go into more depth. So when you do all that, reflect, practice all that and come, you will be more ready for the next session. Okay, so thank you very much. Hari Om.